You know who loves flowers? Everyone. You know who doesn't like flowers? My old landlord. Today's sponsor, Pro Flowers, sent some to my old address. My former landlord got so pissed off. I don't know why. Pro Flowers are beautiful, they smell great, and are guaranteed to stay fresh for at least 7 days or your money back. But that didn't stop my landlord from calling me all pissy about me still getting packages at the old crib that I never am ever coming back to get. I told him it was a mistake. He could keep the beautiful flowers. I love them. I've always been happy with every arrangement I've gotten, but he wouldn't listen. So, don't be like my landlord. Get 20% off any of the unique summer rose bouquets or any other bouquet of $29 or more by going to proflowers.com and using my code Greggy at the checkout. That's proflowers.com and the code Greggy. Don't wait to make someone's day. And my former landlord, you can go to hell, you free flower hating monster. Cool. Tim, what's your topic?
My topic is UFC, specifically because I just spent a weekend at my boy James Burke's bachelor party. Mm-hmm. His bachelor party was insane, quite possibly the most ridiculous bachelor party of all time in terms of events. Number of events crammed into such a short period of time. So I joined them halfway through. They started it Thursday and Friday, Vegas. Okay, they did it. They hit Vegas super hard.
I feel like I'm gonna need notes.
Joined them Saturday morning. I went to LA to meet them. So they drove from SF to Vegas. Drove from Vegas to LA. I flew into LA. We went to a Giants versus Dodgers game.
Mm-hmm. Who won?
And the Dodgers won,
that's unfortunate.
which was not good for my group of people that were very loud and
all
proud.
wearing orange and black.
A lot of
probably.
Orange, a lot of black. I was wearing blue and white because that's what I do.
Right.
They gave me a lot of shit for that.
Yeah, that's Dodgers colors.
But you blended in.
Our team won, I guess.
There you go Dodgers.
But anyways, so we did that, and that sucked, and that's where I got blistering sunburns.
Wear a hat. Why don't you just wear sunscreen?
Horrible. Fashion over function.
That's not.
Right?
It doesn't have anything to do with fashion. For
No,
sunscreen.
honestly, because I didn't fucking expect my dumb shit friend to get seats where we're sitting in the sun. It's like he's like, nah, dude, we got this. I should have known when he said we're in a section that's all you can eat. That's not gonna be
that's not gonna be.
That's gonna be good.
That's not gonna
but
be
he showed me
sweet.
pictures of it, and he's like, nah, dude, like here's where we're at. And I'm like, there's covering, there's shade, there's this indoor area. Blocked by bleachers, you can't even see the game. Not a problem for me. We're getting in way ahead of myself. So it doesn't even fucking matter. Yeah. I got really badly sunburned. Then we went straight from the game to Anaheim to go to the UFC events.
Yeah.
Cormier versus Jones.
John Jones, yep.
And that
The Martian Manhunter.
And then the next day we went to Disneyland, and that was when I actually had fun. And it was a lot of fun. But back to the UFC thing. I've never watched UFC. Mm-hmm. Nick, you're a huge fan of UFC.
I am a big fan
So I got
of
to
UFC.
be there. I got to see this whole spectacle.
I was very
This is a big deal fight.
I was live tweeting it, as you do, as one does. And people kept asking, is Nick at the fight? To which I begrudgingly had to respond, no, but Tim is at the fight.
So many people texted me saying, are you and Nick at the fight? I'm like, no, just me.
Nope.
It was quite the experience.
Did you ever? Is this like the one moment you're like, man, I should have been better friends with James?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things like I never even think to go to a UFC fight, largely because I actually just like watching them at home.
It's a better experience.
For two reasons. One, I think it's easier to watch. And two, you get expert commentary from Joe Rogan. And I think Dominic Cruz was announcing this fight as well. I like hearing that. I like being like, oh, I think that's this, and then either being corrected or being validated. And there's just something about that live event of UFC where people get like there is an alpha male aspect of UFC goers that I think you get a lot more of when you go to the event. You get like I haven't been to one in a really long time, but last time I was one, I looked around and there was a sea of affliction shirts, and a lot of people were getting drunk, and you get a lot of people who train, quote unquote, and who really want to try to like use that on someone, like looking for a fight, basically.
Well, I mean, even more than that, like you put them together, and I mean, any sporting events this way, like even being at the Dodgers SF thing, there's obviously a rivalry there, so it's like it was uncomfortable when people would start yelling shit at us, and I'm like, I didn't give a fuck. But had my group of friends been a little more drunk and a little more, ready to fight, that could have been an issue.
Sure.
You put that in a fighting environment where people are betting on these two dudes, and there was thousands of dollars on the line. By the way, James Burke won $3,000.
Did he really?
Damn.
What did he put? He put all his money on Jones?
No, it was like a parlay. He did this whole
Interesting. He did a spread.
Anyways, Yeah, but what you're talking about is so true. It's like it was kind of like, oh, there's a lot going on here, and I'm like, I want no part in this.
It's a fun energy, and I shouldn't speak ill of people who go to those fights. I'm generalizing ultimately. Like I've been to 3 fights, or been to 3 fights, seen a scuffle at one of them once. So it's not like people are gonna like beating the shit out of each other in the bleachers. That's an unfair statement to say. There's just a lot of it's an
3 to 5
aggressive
fights
sport.
that I saw.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, whether in or right outside the area.
This is baseball.
No.
This is the fighting.
So no, UFC.
Oh, this was at the fight.
You went to a baseball game in the morning, and then the UFC fight that happened.
And there were
in
no
Anaheim.
fights at the baseball.
No fight at the baseball, but a lot of attempted fights. People tried to start shit with us for sure, but it didn't happen. But then, the UFC thing, man, it was interesting because I agree with what you're saying. Where I'd rather watch on TV, like even like with wrestling, the closest thing I got is WWE. And any wrestling event I've been to has been cool for the spectacle of it
fun.
and seeing everyone be there and hearing the cheers and stuff. But like, you really lose a lot when you're not hearing people explain to you what's happening.
The commentary is a big portion of it, right?
And especially more in wrestling, I'd say, because that is the storyline of it.
Well, that's
right?
also the entertainment aspect. Oh my God, he's doing it. You know, there's that adds to it for sure.
It all comes down to how deep you're into anything. Wrestling is the one thing I think going to is a different experience. Well, not the one thing, but in terms of this, like I've gone to dozens of WWE shows and ECW shows and whatever shows, and going there, it's that shared experience of we're all so in. We don't need to be told that's a suplex. We don't need to be told he's going for something. It's that thing and that shared crowd reaction, the screaming and the fall and the ride of it all, I guess. Whereas when I go to UFC, I fall in the same boat as like. Well, what you're talking about, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I mean, I know what the fuck was going on either. It's really interesting for me to compare the two because even though we know what the suplexes are, I don't think they're entertaining to watch unless someone's telling me they're entertaining to watch. Whereas with the fight, because there was 2 people literally beating the shit out of each other, it's like it was a bit more like real where I'm like, I don't need to understand what's happening.
You just see someone fall down bloody.
If someone falls down, doesn't get up, like that's the end of it, right? And so like that to me was one of the things. WWE obviously much more of a spectacle, a lot more pizzazz in everything that they do. The entrances,
well, it's like theater, right?
Absolutely,
it really is. It's live theater.
Not just their performances, but even just them walking out, even just like the lighting and the just everything. It's so hype. The UFC thing, I was just like, are you kidding me with these entrances?
No presentation,
dude. The presentation was like sad. It was bad. Like they come out to songs. Most of them would come out to songs where it'd be like it'd play one verse, stop, and another song would start. And I'm like, who decided this was okay? Like it doesn't even make sense to me. And all the lighting was all the same. All that stuff was like so similar. I'm like, all right, so I get that they're there for the real reasons, which is the fights. But it's like, man, I wouldn't ever want to pay for this.
I think
I
want to say
more glitter.
Bellator or
need the glitter, man.
I want to say it's Bellator does a little bit more hype entrances than UFC. Like they'll do the entrances where it's like down the ramp.
What's Bellator?
It's a competing fighting brand,
Gotcha.
a competing MMA promotion, I think is what they call it.
I mean, that was a shot at, to CM Punk for his fight that he came out to his WWE music. Yeah. I mean, it's just cult of personality, but whatever.
Right.
It's still like, that's fucking cool.
And to be fair, like there's people that came out to music that fit their personality, and like there was some of that there. And as we went through the card, it did get a bit bigger and bigger. Like for the final Cormier versus Jones fight, like that definitely they did have entrances, and they were way more like focused, and they'd cut all the lights and like do cool stuff with it. But like I'm getting really in the weeds of that stuff. But really though, like watching the fights, I just feel like the storytelling of all of it, and as it was happening, it was very exciting to watch, and it was super fun until it wasn't. And it's like there was certain matches where I'm like, holy crap, this is so boring.
The match you're referring to was the second to last match, which is Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia, and that unfortunately happens sometimes, right? So let's go out of the matches out on the main card. I didn't watch a lot of the undercard, so I don't know when you guys got there, but there's an undercard and a main card. The main card's what's televised. The undercard is dark fights, basically.
We were there. We watched. There was I think 10 fights or something like that before the main card.
Yeah, that looks about right.
We saw 3 before the.
Okay,
main card.
so I started with Volkan Ozdemir versus Jimmy Manuwa. I can't say any of these guys' names. That fight lasted 22. That was the very first fight that was televised.
And
that
lasted awesome.
22 seconds.
So pretty much what happens is it's the first real match of the night. Fucking they come out with their entrances. They come in. It's like ding, 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 go.
Manuwa, excuse me.
Bah, done. And I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be awesome. And then the rest of the fights were like, slow.
So the next fight was, I would disagree. So the next fight, and that's the thing, if you watched it, I think you could have gotten a lot more. Because the other problem with UFC is like, it's not like boxing. You have a cage in your way. So if you're really far away, you have to watch the big screen to see what the hell's going on. if you're not watching the big screen, you're just seeing two little dudes like kind of doing something. You don't get the intricacies of it. The Robbie Lawler Donald Cerrone fight, which was the next fight, was a fucking bloodbath. And if you couldn't feel the energy of that fight, like it went 5 rounds and it went to decision. Robbie Lawler won, but I thought it was the fight of the night.
So the thing with that is like being in the room as it was happening, whoever won, everyone was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, he did not win.
I thought Cerrone should have taken that fight too, but Robbie
so
Lawler
back home, was it that clear as well?
No, I didn't. Like I to me it was because I was like I thought Cerrone should have won that fight, but I guess he lost on strikes.
Man, just wait, because like,
land
it was like unanimous decision. This guy won everyone around. It was like that was one of the boo moments of the show.
That was
like,
a boo moment. The Chris Cyborg Tanya Evinger fight was awesome.
Was it awesome?
Yeah.
Or is it just proof that there's no match for that?
There's no match for Chris Cyborg, but that's what everyone wanted, and that's what they got. Everyone wanted for to catch you guys up. Chris Cyborg, I forget where she comes from, but she's fighting at 145, but she really probably walks around about 160, and no one can beat her. And they're trying to they have a little bit of a problem in the they have a problem in the women's league is that it's still coming up and they're still adding talent to it. And so when you have a superstar like Chris Cyborg, you have to sort of get people to fight her.
To be clear, she changed her name to Cyborg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like she goes by Chris Cyborg. And dude, seeing her, it's like,
does she come out of the Terminator 2
I think
song?
she changed her name to Cyborg.
No. I forgot where she's from, but she comes out to.
She's Brazilian, I'm pretty sure.
But she's very Brazilian then. Like that's her whole
Come out in the
thing.
Triple
People
H
with the
thing.
flags.
What is her real name?
Dressed like a robot.
But yeah, she came out, and then there was this other woman, and they built it up like they showed the whole like hype trailer of like what this match means, and I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. And then the fight starts, and it's just like, oh, that other woman is fucked.
I follow a guy named Brendan Schraub, he does a podcast called Fire and the Kid, but he's an ex-fighter and he does a lot of commentary. And he was like, am I the only person that feels really bad for Tanya Evinger right now, like scared for her? Well, because Cyborg, if you look at the differences between
show me a photo of Chris Cyborg.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
But like seeing them fight, like the other woman, like Chris Cyborg is fucking like destroying people.
Jesus.
Oh wow,
she's an action figure.
Fucking
no, she is
jacked.
But the other woman, you can see the other person on her face.
She looks like Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life.
She took that fight on short notice too. I think Tanya Evinger actually stepped in to take that fight. I don't know how long she had for that.
So that was the other thing. Tanya Evinger, her nickname, because of course they all have the nicknames, right? Hers was Tanya Triple Threat.
So that's Tanya Evinger.
Yeah.
So you see a big difference in their body types. Obviously, Chris Cyborg just looks like she could fucking bench press a car, for Christ's sake.
Is that right though? The Triple Threat.
What do you mean? I'm sorry. Say it again.
Her nickname
missed that
is
statement.
the Triple Threat.
Tanya. I don't know. I don't know.
Tanya Triple Threat Evinger.
Sure.
So I got super excited.
Sure.
Thinking we're about to see 3 people fight at once in the fucking ring.
Oh,
and I'm like,
wow.
I was like, is that a thing in UFC? What the fuck? And
that'd be awesome.
wasn't.
Can you imagine? That'd be fucking
So I got super
rad.
hyped, and then instead I just got to see Chris Cyborg almost kill this woman.
Yeah, she almost killed her. It was exciting.
Really?
I mean, dude, no, really, like she looked so scared. With every shot of her, she's just like, and like you could see her mouth guard, like she was just biting onto her, just like, I'm just gonna take this hit, and I just hope it doesn't actually kill me.
She did well. She held her own. But yeah, I think Chris Cyborg just was able.
I have
to
a question for you,
overwhelm her.
Tim.
Yes,
So you're a fan of wrestling.
I am.
I'm about to say something so offensive here. Did you found the spectacle and the of wrestling far more entertaining than you did UFC? But did the whole risk factor of the fact that these people were literally beating the crap out of each other, and that it wasn't as, I don't want to say staged, but the other one's entertainment, the other one is a sport. Like it's a real deal thing.
Which is
did
why
that
I'm not
not
into
heighten? Did that not heighten it, knowing that they were really?
That's the thing. It's weird to me because I mean, all this proved to me is I'm not into fighting. I don't like it.
Sure.
This is way too brutal for me. I just don't. I do not enjoy it at all. Wrestling, that's what I like. The wrestling is my least favorite part about wrestling. So I was like, I could totally do without any of that.
You like the storylines and the
just and also it's not like I'm the biggest wrestling fan in the world. It's more like I enjoy what it is.
Yeah.
Like I am in it for the spectacle. Watching these fights was interesting because it was more like, all right, I don't know any of the backstory. I'm trying to get it from my friends who are all super hyped. They all bet thousands of dollars on this, so they're super into it. So that was cool. Where I'm like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you don't
this
know.
isn't Triple H versus the Undertaker, where it's like,
and that's the thing.
You didn't know what was going to happen.
A lot of people in the chat are talking about this. First off, Tanya went up from 135 to 145, which is a big weight increase to be able to fight at that level. It's hard to do that. But she did. At first, I saw her and I saw Chris Cyborg, and I was like, "There's no way Tanya Evinger is going to get the shit kicked out of her in the first round."
Show me some video of it. Show me some video of it.
It's going to be hard to find video.
Okay.
I'd have to. I don't know. It's UFC, so they have to.
the
It's like
rights
WWE
and all that.
rights and stuff. But I can find it. But anyway, she held her own for the first couple rounds. She did. She
Didn't
I
feel
mean,
that way.
the first few people were like, "Oh God, she's gonna get destroyed," but she stood up against her and did fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, but my thing
Until
is,
she didn't.
within about 20 seconds, it was clear to me that she should tap. Just say, I'm done. This was a bad idea. She didn't.
right.
What was the next round or next match?
Next round after that was Greg just went off it, but it was
I thought you might be able to remember. Sorry.
Damian Maia versus Tyron Woodley, I believe was the next one, and that was the one that went 5 rounds and was there. You go.
Kevin's showing us
Christ.
highlights of this mugging.
I mean, look at her. Look at how scared she looks. She's just like, look, stop, just please.
But she's, I mean, her bells
no,
rung
her
here.
hand- yeah, well, yeah.
It's, you know.
Oh, ate that one.
But I mean, again, the guts it takes to step in with someone. That's
Oh yeah,
10
no one's
pounds-
taking away from
10
how
pounds bigger than you. and
She
you
could
stick it
beat
on
the
short
shit out
notice.
of me, this Tanya
She would
woman.
beat the crap out of all of us.
So the next fight was Tyron
you.
Woodley and
You're too nice.
and Damian Maia. And Tyron Woodley has been champ for a while. He's one of those guys that's very, very much like Floyd Mayweather, very strategic, puts on very boring fights and wins. And he's you know, he won. He beat Damian Maia with a unanimous decision. And Damian Maia, it was a boring fight. It was 5 rounds.
That's what's
going to
happen with Conor
fight.
McGregor.
Probably.
It's going to be
Dude.
boring as hell. He's just going to just outbox
Unless
him.
Conor fucking knocks his block off.
I don't
It's
think
not
he'll
gonna
even.
happen.
But I don't think Floyd will even let him touch. It's going to be. Anyway, I just think it's going to be super defensive.
So I think you're right. A lot of people would agree with you.
It's going to be a big letdown.
Unless you're Conor McGregor, in which case he thinks he's going to knock him out in the 4th round. That's what Conor said.
Conor reckons.
Conor said, I'm going to knock him out in the 4th round.
His
I
bet.
did the
His.
worst. I'm going to knock him out in the 4th
Who the
round.
fuck is this guy? I can't do it either.
I fucking love it. Who the fuck is
Yasmin's
this
got
guy?
Irish accent. Do it.
No, that doesn't
Oh,
count.
racist. Sorry.
Super racist, I'm sorry.
He's Irish though.
Top of the morning to you. What do you want?
Oh, my shillelagh.
No, he talks. I mean, God bless Conor. Conor's one of those guys that is just so good at the promotion game.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Like, he's a guy that you love to hate. He's a guy that gets in the head of his opponent, and he sells fucking tickets, man. He sells pay-per-views. He has said such crazy shit to fucking Floyd Mayweather.
Didn't he wear a jersey?
He wore a suit that was pinstripes.
No. He wore a Golden State jersey.
Did he?
And it had a player's number. And I don't know if this is true, but apparently the player who he was wearing slept with Floyd Mayweather's wife.
Oh.
And he's bowling around in the guy's fucking jersey.
Dude, he wore a suit.
Psychological warfare.
He wore a suit to one of the press conferences that everyone thought was a pinstripe suit, and then someone zoomed in on it. And in the pinstripe, it wasn't a fine line. It was just the tiny words "fuck you," and it just was all over this "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck." Then he starts talking shit about Floyd Mayweather. And he's like, "I'm gonna kick your little tiny." He's like, "I don't care about you with your tiny head and your tiny hands and your tiny little body." He was
saw
like,
that.
"What does that mean?" Like, he's not like it's so
I love
fucked
it.
up, but he gets in your head.
But see, that's my thing is so much of this. I mean, we talk about wrestling. It's like I feel like so much of this is fake as hell. When I see them go up against each other in
It is fake. It is fake.
interviews and
It's fake
stuff,
in that you know-
this is all set up. There's so much money being put into this, and it bothers me that they're not admitting it.
There is to a degree. There's no love loss between some fighters. Some fighters legitimately don't like each other. Like I don't disagree with the fact that I don't think John Jones and Daniel Cormier get along all that well. But having said that, it's the same every time. A lot of shit's talked because you gotta have the rivalry, and then afterward, what did John Jones do? He was literally like, Daniel Cormier is awesome. I aspire to be more like this guy. This guy's a real champion. I'm still fighting my demons, which is how he really feels.
Did Muhammad Ali pioneer that style of promotion? You know, the build-up
I mean,
where he
I would
chased
assume
after
so, yeah.
Frazier and Foreman, because Joe Frazier and him did not like each other. That was not a publicity stunt.
Well, supposedly he would like call his house at night and
Yeah.
like fuck with him. Like he would just call
Joe
him,
Frazier
I'm gonna
felt-
beat you. I'm gonna beat you. He's like, stop calling my fucking house.
Well, in a more sinister way, Joe Frazier felt bullied,
Yeah.
and hated the way that the Muhammad Ali had turned the community against him, and
Yeah.
felt like his kids were being picked. Like that was a real fucking like Muhammad Ali went for him, and in some ways, I guess from the like the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle, is that right?
Right, you know.
Like, is that what everyone's trying to emulate now? That kind of rivalry,
it
that
is.
kind
That's
of
what gets you the
show-
attention.
But
Yeah,
the problem
that
is not a lot
spectacle.
of fighters can do it, right? And
No.
like Conor is the best at it by far. John Jones, Daniel Cormier, they had a good back and forth. It was a good try, but like you see Conor, and then you see Conor versus Nate Diaz, and that was the big that's the big rivalry right now he has. And Nate Diaz is like he's one of those guys that like doesn't give a fuck. And that's when they started throwing shit at each other, and he started
I saw that
talking
when I saw
mad
it.
shit, and they started getting fined. And it
But
was
even
like
in the video for Cormier versus Jones, like the way that they got in each other's face and started like punching
Yeah,
each other and
they
they
do
get
that
pulled
shit.
apart. It's like I don't know, man.
And there's some
where's the
shit
line?
said that like where Jones was like, "You're not a real champion," and and he was like, "It's fucked up, but it's true," because he's like, "You're not the real champ. You got my belt. You never beat me for that belt, and when I beat you, you're gonna spend the rest of your life thinking about that. You're gonna spend the rest of your life fucking knowing that you couldn't beat me." And it happened, and that's just going to be the case.
So we're getting ahead of ourselves. Going back to the fight you were talking about, that was the
Tyron
most,
Woodley, Damian Maia.
Yeah,
now,
so-
Damian Maia is an excellent jiu-jitsu practitioner and was constantly trying to get him to the ground.
And that's
it did
what's
not
interesting
work.
is when this match was first being introduced, they set it up, and these two dudes came out. For the first time in the night, I was like, I am enthralled by this. This is awesome. They set up the story perfectly where one of the dudes, Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, if he gets you to the floor, you're fucking done.
Yeah, he finishes.
This other guy,
he usually finishes by submission.
if he gets you in a good fucking flurry, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, this is straight up Street Fighter. This is straight up, this guy has these pros and cons, this guy has these pros and cons.
That's what it's based on.
Let's go. I can understand this story just based on watching them fight, right? Then it starts, and first off, Tyron Woodley. Kevin, can you look up Tyron Woodley to show these people what
This man is. You
God
talking about
looks
action
like?
figures?
He
This
is
man
an
is a
action figure.
superhero.
Like
Wait,
his
and this
muscles.
is the guy who's ground. Who's
No,
Damian
Damian
guy.
Maia has more of the traditional jiu-jitsu body where he's like a little lengthier. He's very skinny.
And
He's
the-
not this guy
Yeah.
by any chance. That's
is he the guy from Hounslow who I called out?
No, that's Alistair Overeem.
Oh,
So
No,
you could
go
take
up,
this
Kev.
guy. You
To
could
the
take Tyron
left,
Woodley.
left.
Oh my
The middle one in the top row.
The green one?
Yeah,
That one.
yeah. Like, just look at his arm. Like,
He
look at
legitimately
the
looks like the Hulk.
circles, right?
He looks like someone carved him out of like plastic or steel.
So seeing them get in the ring, I was like, oh,
Now look
this
up
is
Damian
fucking
Maia.
awesome.
It's spelled Maia.
So then they start, and again, I don't know
scared,
any of this
right?
stuff.
You're like,
I just
fuck.
know that they told me this. So as I'm seeing them fight, within the first round, you see any time that the other dude gets him almost down, he's like, fuck this, and like runs away.
Right.
And it was like, oh man, they're serious about what they're saying. And when the same shit with him, when he would start punching the other guy would just like dip out. But then it turned into 15 minutes
Of a
It
dance.
felt like, at least.
25 minutes.
Was it really?
25 minutes.
Of them,
How long
dude,
that
it
fight
wasn't
was.
even a
That was title
dance.
fight.
They would like look at each other and like run away. And it was like watching two people play in Smash Bros. And both are Marth and they just keep trying to counter each other.
Yeah.
And it was so damn
Good. Put it in terms
boring.
our audience can understand. That's good.
So, but what's important about it is this actually broke the record for least strikes in the
Landed,
history
yeah.
of
Oh,
UFC.
wow.
Of a welterweight title fight, this broke the record for fewest. I think strikes landed, or no, maybe it was few strikes thrown.
That's
Yeah.
what it was. And it's like, I'm
Because
not
what happened
exaggerating. It was
It
ridiculously
was
boring.
so bad that Damian Maia was shooting in for the same takedown over and over again. He shot in for 21 takedowns, and all 21 of them were stuffed. Pretty much with relative, well, not with ease, but stuffed. You could tell that he was like, I'm just going to train specifically to stuff these takedowns. It got so bad that at one point, the announcers were like, are his knees bleeding from shooting? Because when you shoot in
Going
for
down.
a takedown, you shoot a knee first.
Yeah.
So you scoop it up and grab double leg takedowns,
Yeah.
and he kept doing that. But Tyron Woodley at one point just took all of his fucking weight and just put it on the back of Damian Maia's neck and just pushed down and just pushed his face into the ground and then escaped over and over again to the point where his knees were bloody. And it was like, you would think that sounds exciting, but it was the most boring.
No, man.
And the crowd and you
So-
can hear it at home, the crowd starts to boo.
So, the crowd slowly, like round one, it was boo. Round two, this is boring. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. WWE shit. I love this. And then it was just like,
Round 3, the glass broke. Stone Cold comes
oh my
out.
God, it felt like it. Round 3, like the crowd was not having it so much. They started doing the wave, and it was like it went around the auditorium, the arena, went around again, and then started getting like where they would chant boring with the wave. So everyone would jump up and go boring, and it was just like go, and it didn't stop. It just kept
Wow.
fucking going. And like, I have videos, Kevin. I'm gonna send you one of these, but like they would just be yelling at them. They started putting up all their lights, their phone lights, and everyone's just fucking making a scene. They're screaming boring.
Dana White
It was
came
a
out,
bad
threw
fight.
chairs into
It was a
them.
bad fight, but the problem is that's how you win fights and that's how you stay on top, right? You
Yeah.
don't win fights by getting in there and smash and letting someone smash your face in until you knock them out. That's a bad way. You win fights but the same way George St. Pierre won fights, which is you look at your team looks at the opponent and goes, what is he strong at? Okay, Damian Maia is really good at takedowns and or really good at submissions from the ground. Okay, so if we neutralize that, if I just don't get taken down, do I have a better chance of winning? Cool. So that's what
Yep.
what you train for.
And that's why it was most interesting to me, because they set that up, and then once it started, I was like, this is so interesting that they're really sticking to that, and it's obvious that they trained against
Yep.
this and are ready and prepared. But I'm like, that's where the WWE fakeness comes in, where I'm like, they would have told that story in a way that wasn't boring as all
Sure.
shit. Hopefully.
But see, the problem is like the other problem is like that was an interesting stylistic match. The other stylistic match that I thought was better was Robbie Lawler versus Donald Cerrone, which is one you thought was boring as well. To me, that was two fighters that were standing up and just wanted to fucking kick the shit out of each other, and that's what they did.
I didn't think that one was boring.
Okay.
My problem with that was that I thought it was bullshit that the guy won one.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Like, it was so
that to
clear
me was
the
fight
other
of the night
dude
because
won.
that's a matchup of two really good strikers, and you just let's see what happens. Like put two strikers in the row and see what happens. That's what I like the UFC though. Like is if Tyron Woodley had been a little bit more aggressive, that fight could have been really dynamic. But what happened was after that first round, he realized he won the round with very little strikes, very few strikes, and his corner was like, keep
Just
doing
wait
it,
it
man.
out. Just wait
four
it
more-
out.
Just if you do that 4 more times, you win this fight.
Yeah.
And you walk away unscathed, and you can probably fight again tomorrow if you wanted to.
Yep,
Not
and
that
that is
the Nevada
exactly
State
what
Athletic
happened.
Commission would allow
And
that
it was
to.
so clear to
that's what
everyone.
happened.
So then when he won and he was like holding up the belt,
Everyone's like, what
it
the
was
fuck,
just
dude?
you couldn't even hear him talk. Like when Joe Rogan came up and was interviewing him, all you heard was boo.
it was bad.
Like goddamn,
Savage.
Yeah.
it was savage.
So what about the main event? Did
Then
that
the main
deliver?
event was so interesting. Like I was
Were you
completely at the
nervous
edge
when,
of my
when,
seat.
when they started fighting? Because I was fucking nervous.
Oh no,
For Daniel Cormier.
really?
Yeah, I was actually
Why?
more nervous for John. Excuse me, not Daniel Cormier, because it's an interesting dynamic. Daniel Cormier is one like a stand-up guy. He's the champion that if you write a champion into a movie, he's the guy you write, right? Like good,
he, though?
he is. He's a good guy, family guy. Never talks doesn't like talking shit about his opponents. They you can tell they're making him do this stuff. Like he's held the belt, he's defended the belt, he's had a lot of good fights, right? He fought Anderson Silva recently when John was supposed to fight him, but John got popped for steroids. Anderson Silva came in, they had a great fight, but he didn't overwhelm him. He showed a lot of respect to his opponent and showed a lot of respect to the sport. Then you've got John Jones, who is just this phenomenally talented human being that won the youngest ever light heavyweight title to a winner to win the title. Just did shit. He's like the kind of guy that watched a YouTube video about Bruce Lee and then can all of a sudden fucking do a spinning back kick and do it and really do it and actually knock someone out with it. So you look at him and you're like, this is a guy that is probably pound for pound one of the best fighters ever to live. And then he does something where he's high and crashes his Bentley into a woman who is pregnant, a pregnant woman is driving it. And then he goes, oh, I don't want to be here, and runs away from it. And you're like, oh, John, you can't do that. So Cormier is the champion that we want, or that we deserve and need, but John's the one we want, right? John we want to win because we want to see that guy who's the best ever. We want to be able to I watched John Jones fight. He's the greatest ever. He's never been beaten. Well, he has been beaten. But all intents and purposes, he's unbeatable. And then these two come together and you're torn emotionally because you've got Daniel Cormier who's the nice guy and you want to believe nice guys win, but you secretly just want to watch John fuck him up and you don't know why. And so when those two came together, I was like, oh my God, I almost wanted to bow to each other and walk away. I don't even want to see them fight. This
There is
fucked
no
up.
champion. Good night.
That's so
good
funny
night.
because I from not knowing any of it and just watching it, fuck Daniel Cormier. He was an asshole the whole time. So they're fighting. They're having a great fight, and it was really even. At some point, it started looking like Daniel Cormier who's Nick's good guy, was decidedly winning. And then he started getting really cocky, and you'd see it where the other guy would punch him in the face, and he'd look at him and go like that. And he punched him again, and he'd be like, and he just kept doing that. And it was like, all right, this is kind of awesome. But it was such heel shit. He's the bad guy right now. And then eventually he got way too cocky with it. The other guy takes him down. And one of the most brutal things I've ever seen anyone do to another human being in my life.
What was it?
Dude, fucking kicks him. The guy, you could see it. He had a moment of oh shit, he was outconscious. And the other guy was like, I'm taking advantage of this. Fucking went in and just started knocking him into the fucking fence.
Yeah.
He fell down. And then he just was trampling the dude's head in
Yeah,
with
he
his
basically
hands.
was hammer fisting his head.
Why didn't the ref stop it?
Well, that's that, and a lot of people were like, he should have stopped it a little earlier. Than
Yeah.
that. The thing is, on a fight that important, you don't want to have there be any doubt that the guy could have defended himself. So if had Daniel Cormier being able to it's weird to say, but it's actually kind of for Daniel because the ruling is if you can't defend yourself, if the ref thinks at any time you can't put up an adequate defense, he stops the fight, right? That's how it goes, and it's a technical knockout right there. But there have been times when people have been in worse spots than that, where they regain their senses and boom, they clinch up, and they just need a couple seconds and they get back to their feet and they're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. And so it's one of those weird I think he should have stopped it about 3 seconds before he did, but I'm also not a judge or a ref.
I'd have liked 3 seconds
UFC.
too late.
What's it? Yeah, I think
I prefer getting my money's worth.
I mean, that's the thing.
Stop
like,
3 minutes too late.
I don't know, but that's a perfect example of John, right? Like the first two rounds, really getting a sense of like the range, getting a sense of where his kicks were landing, and then what did he do? He was kicking the leg, head kick, kicking the leg, fakes a kick to the leg. Daniel Cormier goes to block it. Fucking head kick that rings his bell harder than anyone's bell I've seen in a long time.
Insane.
Then he did something very interesting, right? Because most fighters would go, he's wrong, and they freak out and they start just like bombing punches. John didn't do that. John went like he did a little footwork first to see if he was really wrong, right?
Well, that footwork tripped the other dude up.
Didn't trip him. He did footwork, realized he was stunned, faked the punch, and then kicked his fucking heel as hard as possible. It spun him around, and then he followed up with a fucking flying knee to the chest that like put him right against the cage, down, and then just hammer
It
fist.
sounds really cool when he describes it.
That moment
It
was
was
fucking awesome, and it was
insane.
earned. That fight totally
Yeah.
earned it.
Oh, it was
but
so
then
insane.
after the fight, they're announcing the winner and doing the whole thing, and then the fucking Daniel Cormier, the loser, like is trying to get up, and like, he's still trying to fight the guy. Which that was the thing is like I think
got
that
knocked out.
he was so knocked out that
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Oh,
he didn't even
know that it was
understand that it was
done. He
over.
didn't know
Like,
it
he
was
didn't know it
over.
was
Yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah.
He was still trying to fucking fight him, even though there was like 10 people holding him back. And I was like, all right, cool, that's aggressive. And then he goes like they're about to announce the winner, like, hey, come over here and do the thing, and he like shoves the ref's hand away and walks off. And I was like,
It was very emotional for one. Because you have to understand this has been like a 2-year build up to this fight, and he should have fought him a long time ago, and John just kept pulling out for different reasons, like he kept getting disqualified or suspended or popped for steroids. So there's a lot of emotion built into this.
Yeah. Good guys don't do that, though. Champions don't do that.
Champions.
Yes, sure, but two, they should not, when a guy's knocked out that badly, put him on camera.
Oh my god, it was horrible.
And
so
now,
then after-
the shit thing is a fucking meme, and that pisses me off
Yeah,
because he
no,
shouldn't
absolutely.
be. This should not like. And Rogan didn't want to do it. You can tell.
Oh,
Joe
did
was
he
like,
not wanna do it?
no, because he said specifically on his podcast.
Wait,
he's
I
like,
don't understand. What is I didn't see this. I don't know what you're talking
John
about.
Jones, they interview the person who won generally.
Yeah.
But if the person gets knocked out, as a general rule, and Rogan's talked about this a lot on his podcast, he does not like interviewing the guy that just got knocked out because you just got knocked out.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not all there. You don't know what's going. He's like more often than not, people think they're still fighting. They don't know what the fuck's going on.
They shit
Yeah,
their
yeah.
pants.
Yeah, they just lost. They do. They literally do.
Do they really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Your body does that sometimes. And so he was like, he even said it when he started interviewing Daniel Cormier. He's like, I really don't
did it
like
during
doing
topic
this,
one.
but I want to give you an opportunity to like talk about this. And
He's
you
like,
can
"Oh!"
tell Cormier.
No, dude, really?
Really?
Yeah, it
No,
was
seriously,
bad.
he was so knocked out. He was talking, and he just started
started crying.
bawling
It
in
was
tears, and it was like really, really fucking bad. But it's like I don't know, I don't buy that at all. That's some Joe Rogan showmanship shit because he fucking went in there so
No,
quick.
he's gotten in trouble before about that. Like he's actually stated a lot because I think it was, I forget who it was, but he interviewed someone and the guy was like, no, I totally won that fight. The guy tapped, I swear to God. And Joe's like, I don't think he did, man. The guy's like, no, he fucking tapped. I know he tapped. And he goes, okay, let's bring up the footage. And in front of everyone, like basically humiliated the guy because the guy, I forget
Yeah.
which fighter it was, but he
I was
wasn't
there for that one. I was there
you
for
were
that.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just was. He doesn't fucking know. Like when you get knocked out, you might lose the last like 5 minutes of your life. You don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now as a general rule, they won't do it if the person gets knocked out. Like they'll just interview the person who wins. But this was such a big fight that I think they probably made him.
Yeah.
He hasn't
I
talked
don't
about it yet. I haven't listened to his
So would you
podcast
go
yet.
again?
No, God no. But shout out to Joe Rogan though. Like the through line that the show needed, him doing the post round or post match, whatever the fuck
match.
interviews was like super helpful, and I thought really moved things along. And I love that he just is Joe Rogan. Like he is such his own character. Where even during the boring match, I thought he was going to be like a professional about it and like act like, oh, you guys were just beasts in the ring or whatever. He's like, hey, so everyone's booing you. How's that feel? And I'm like,
Yeah. No, I mean
Get him.
Joe's also at a point where I think he's almost done. Like he's talked a lot about maybe retiring from that, and he's pulled out a lot from a lot of the events. Like he used to do all the worldwide events, and he doesn't do those anymore. And I think they're training Dominic Cruz to come up and help. Or maybe not Dominic Cruz, but I forget the other guy. They're losing announcers basically, but I think he's at the tail end of his career as an announcer for UFC. He's also a comedian that talks about crazy shit. So every once in a while he'll slide something in there. Like he got in trouble the first time he ever did it for like talking about one of the chokes in a really bad way. I don't want to go into that, but yeah, shout out to Joe Rogan.
Click here to subscribe. Click here to watch a playlist of other episodes. Click over here to go to the Patreon for Kinda Funny, and click over there to go to Kinda Funny Games. All sorts of stuff to click on. Click on this. You'll go to Pound Town.